So effective with this ribbon cutting here today, NHCO has a new cost-effective way to provide food, healthy food, to over 1,200 low-income families who come to NHCO because they need food every month throughout the year. All the food grown at the garden will feed local, hungry families.
So like all of our efforts, many people are involved as partners, donors, and volunteers. One very special donor has made today possible, and that's Terry Amelia. Where'd she get to? Okay, there she is. All right, give her a hand. Thank you. And Terry gave us this beautiful property behind us, but she also gave us the vision for what it could be. And Terry, would you like to come forward and make a few remarks at this time?
Do I get 5 minutes?
Yes. Absolutely.
Thanks, Faye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Faye, I thank you there from the beginning.
And North Hills Community Outreach. You said the vision for me, but your vision and the board vision. Can you imagine? All friends and neighbors and compadres and comadres. I can't believe it. A round of applause for all these people who work to make the garden grow. A young neighbor said, I said, well, what am I going to say to my family and friends and all the volunteers? Well, it came alive again, huh? All the families who visited my mom many years ago, our compadres, they know what the garden was like. My brother Ernie, my brother Vince are here today, our cousins. There's so many people here, and I'm just so appreciative. I'm looking at all the people that have been helping along the way, and those that I don't know, please come and say hi to me today and tell me who you are, because there's so many volunteers here that I wouldn't even know who they are. I come to honor my mom, and I want to give you a glimpse of my mom. And if I don't give it exactly right, all our compadres and comadres and relatives and friends will adjust it. First question about my mom, how did she look? Now you all have an image, you know her, right? She wore, oh darn, she wore an apron. Being a teacher, I had to bring the apron, right? I brought my mother's apron. I only wear it on special days when I want the food to taste just right. Mom wore her aprons. Of course, they're made out of chicken sack. You know, the sacks, Harney. Mom would sew them out of the chicken sack, and that's how we got some of our clothes too. Mom wore Dad's old shoes, and I want you to see the image. Well, you can imagine, huh? Muddy, filled with dirt, never laced, but always moving was my thought about my mom. Always moving, in the yards. Also, she wore this white, old rag on her head, tied like a little knot. It would be like a bandana, you would call it. She had rosy cheeks. She was always out in the garden. But her skin, Ernie, her skin was so pure and shiny. But she was always out in the garden. What did she do, Mom? She worked here from morning, we'd get up and Mom was in the garden, right? It would get dark, Mom was in the garden. I had written a little poem about Mom sitting on the porch. Oh my gosh, I don't even see the porch. Is it back there?
It's back there.
Where we grew up, our house is right there. And those of you who know my mom know it's right there. You came to get vegetables from Mom. But I used to sit there and it would be dark, but I could see the white bandana. It would be moving around. And then I could hear a hose running hard. We knew that was Mom, She was still working. Dad would say she was working late because whatever he planned today, Mom at night would change it where she thought it would. She'd be out working. Now you have to imagine Mom eating here in the garden. She wouldn't necessarily come home for lunch. Uncle Martin would say, she'd be eating the tomato and the juice would be coming out. See? And I have a vision of Mom eating off the bottom broccoli and taking that with her teeth, you know, that bottom part of the broccoli, taking that and eating broccoli right from the garden. And that's what she did. Also, my mom, she took advantage of all the resources that she had. She scavenged vegetables and fruit scraps from the dumpsters up in Bellevue. She'd go in and get that stuff and come home and feed it to the chickens. And then she'd get the chicken manure and feed it to the ground. And then when she would clean the vegetables, those things would stay, huh? That's how she nourished the garden. This is the part I wasn't always too fond of doing. Mom would have me go selling the vegetables door to door. That's the part I didn't like. But she would sell tomatoes up Bellevue, huh, to the pizza store up in Bellevue. She'd take them up there. Sure enough, they were happy to have some fresh organic food. Oh, this is a memory I have of Mom taking a bushel of vegetables up to, what would you call, like a board of people when they assess your taxes and then they raise them, but Mom would appeal. She had an elementary education from Italy, but she had smarts, huh? She'd go up with that bushel of baskets to the, what would you call those men up there, whoever sits on the panel, you know, to judge whether your assessment goes through. And she'd go up on the counter where the judges were and put on. I remember the basket. I remember the basket. Onions, things shooting out of there. I don't have to tell you the end of the taxes. The superintendent of Bellevue Schools, Bellevue was good to our family. They were good. When the encyclopedias were out of date at school, we got them Harney. One set. I'm Vincy in that little cupboard. We had the set of encyclopedias that the school gave. Neighbors gave me clothes. I remember the neighbors. They gave us clothes. Today we use the word slightly worn. But we wore those clothes, huh? And I feel like a circle, huh? That our family can be here and have this land grow for other families. It's full circle, huh? You have to picture this one. I went to Pitt, and Miss Skewis was the assistant dean of women at Pitt. Well, my mother, that's all she has to hear. Who's in charge and who do we take the basket of food to? Can you imagine? We took a streetcar to Pitt, right? So here I am with the basket of vegetables, getting on the streetcar in Bellevue, going to town, switching over, going to Pitt, getting off the streetcar. Now who else in Pitt would be carrying a basket of vegetables up to the 12th floor where Miss Hughes was? Well, gracious, there she was. I'm 17, right? And she's saying, "Oh, I love Swiss chard." But then I did find out later she was a home ec teacher. She probably really did love Swiss chard. And the last example of Mom, how she would take the vegetables, she would take it to her family doctor, Dr. Schneider. We'd always take the vegetables to Dr. Schneider. Well, when the insurance started to change and you couldn't have treatments, the only complaint my mother ever had was pain. Pain in the knees, pain in her elbows. When Dr. Schneider said, "Oh, you can't go to the hospital and have that wax treatment that warms up your body anymore," my mother said, "What do you mean? That's my vacation and that's the only thing I ask you for." Mom would go to the hospital and get the treatment for arthritis. Huh? That would ease her pain. What she did for me and my brothers, she empowered us. Huh? And when you look at all the family down the generation of all my brothers and the next generation and their kids, she empowered us. Huh? Yeah. She taught us. She always said, education, nobody takes it away from you. What you have is yours. And Mom, we heard that all the time. So the family, you see the results. And she was right about that. So we value it, huh? We value education. Mom would say, "Fa progresso." My dialect Italian might not be like, I hope no perfect Italian person is here. But Mom would say that. In other words, make progress, huh? Do things to help other people in the community, huh? Better yourself, she'd tell us. Okay, do whatever you can. And Mom was like that. And that's the message we heard. That's the message we heard growing up. So for myself, she affirmed us. We grew up feeling like we could do things, and we owe that to her. Her faith, taking us up to Assumption, her faith, but she was confident, do good things and do good work. That's the message we heard. And coming toward the end of my notes, I have to say something about my family. I'll probably cry when talking about my family. But the whole family, not just Mom, but we have to remember my dad, Luigi Siriani. My brothers, Ernie and Nikki, gave and donated the property to the left to honor my dad, Luigi Siriani Field, okay, Memorial Field. We gave it to Baga. Is there anybody here from Baga today? the Bellevue Avalon Girls Athletic Association, so the girls could have a field to play. Because see, they have the big field. So Ernie and Nikki donated the land. Well, Ernie and Nikki gave me this land. So the land behind you came from my brothers. It was a lot of years. My parents died in 81 and 83, and it sat here. I have to mention the Kupchaks, the encouraging family, some early on people who came. Steve got his Eagle Scout by coming to the land and clearing off some of them. Can you imagine all those years of trees, things that weren't there before, coming and clearing off the land? I wanted to say one more thing about the land for our dad, Luigi. I was thinking, Gomati, you would appreciate it. Mom's over here working, and she's probably saying today, and there's Dad over there watching the baseball game. You know, Mom never understood that Dad would come in and take a break. My mother never did. But Dad would come in and watch Gunsmoke and cowboy stories. She said, "What? He's in there taking a rest? How could that happen?" You know. Of course, Dad worked over 40 years at Westview Water Company too, so that was a long tradition. I wanted to mention to my brothers, Ernie and Nikki, because they were only 12, and Ernie, how old were you? Like 10 or something? About 10. They heard that we could no longer garden here, so they made money. Can you imagine at that age, a 12 and 10-year-olds shoveling snow and raking leaves? And they saved the money and bought the property so my parents would continue to garden here. So young kids working hard, huh? And then giving the land to me, so I really appreciate it. I have to mention my brother Vincy, because he's the oldest of our family. Vincy, God love you, honey. Mom would be so happy to see you. My brother's 88, and my brother Vince, we're planning and doing what we can do to survive. Vincy fought in World War II, and I wrote a letter to the Post-Gazette once about my brother, and some of you told me you read it. And I mentioned it today because I remember Vincy saying he went there so we could be protected, huh? We were the little ones, and he was the oldest one. So Vincy, look at he's wearing his. So Vincy came from Italy when he was 10, and guess where he ended up during World War II? Africa and Italy. And goes up the mountains and finds Grandma. I never met my grandmother. But my brother had a chance to see her one more time, and that was the last time, huh? Because then the war ended, and then, of course, we didn't. In those days, you wouldn't go around like everything's happening today. My resourceful brothers, huh? 2 paper routes. But I wanted to mention one thing my brother Ernie will clarify. I remember, I think Nikki or Ernie bought some tiny little seedlings to make pine trees. And I forget. They were lined up all above the ball field. And I forget whether we had to pay a penny or whether the government said, you know, plant your tree. One of those things, you know, plant your tree, huh? Thing. Well, they patiently waited. The trees grew up. And so guess where we got our Christmas trees? From the land, huh? For my dad, in honor of my dad. So one more note on Ernie and Nikki. The foresight, huh? Think greater things would happen here, and here we are today, huh? So I appreciate so much the generosity. And you know, Ernie, huh? How much I care about that. So in closing, how would my mom bless all these people, huh? I don't even know if this Italian's right. Ernie, you know how we go back and forth? We don't know it because we only heard Mom talk, right? We didn't see it or read it. But Dio di benedica, she would say, God bless you, huh? And I'm thinking of all these people, our family and all my brothers, and all the neighbors who helped support us and help us grow here. All the people had the courage to accept the land, huh? The land from here, to accept and say, okay, we'll take this land. Sometimes hard to give away a piece of land. But I had this idea, something could grow here. Maybe we could teach lessons here. And Faye, you were there from the beginning, that idea, and just be patient. You know, it's going to happen. I can't believe it. And for all who have worked here, Rosie, and all the team of people who work with you. Rosie's the volunteer for the garden, and the person who's working here to oversee the garden, and the volunteers go to her to help this garden grow. And all have given guidance. I'm sure there are people here who gave a lot of guidance that I wouldn't even know along the way. I could just hear them at the board, you know, yes, no, whatever goes on, I don't know. But in the end, all the people who gave time, honey, money, and materials and services. Some people gave services, to help this project go. And then my note says all the volunteers who have already worked so hard and yet to come. There are going to be a lot of volunteers. We're going to be long gone, and we hope to see this stay alive, that this garden would stay alive. And finally, in the blessings, Mom would say, God bless those families who eat the food coming from the garden, that they'll be nourished in body and spirit, because we know how that goes hand in hand. Finally, as a young girl sitting up on that back porch, Chris and Jen, I used to just look out. But do you think that little girl thought about this day? Never. We would never imagine as a little girl to be in a position to give this land and to honor our mom. Thanks so much, and Mom would say gracias. God bless you all, and peace to you all. Love you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Terry, your parents and your siblings for this, and your entire family for this wonderful opportunity. And as you stated, in sharing the history with us is amazing. It's great to know that and understand that. And as you said, it's come full circle.
Yes, it has.
And the benefits that will come from this land from years to come will be enormous. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
And as Terry mentioned, we'd like to recognize additional key individuals who are here today, who have contributed to the garden's early successful launch, which we're very excited about. Terry mentioned Wade Kupchak. He's right there, Wade.
Wade. Tall. He's tall.
You can see him, he's tall. Who, for his Eagle Scout project, cleared the property of trees and brush and tons of debris. Also, Rosie Wise. Rosie, come on up here. Rosie, she's come on board as our garden coordinator and has done a marvelous job to infuse volunteers and get our first crops planted. Rosie, do you want to share just a few highlights of what we see behind us?
We're growing Swiss chard, tomatoes, peppers, onions, cucumbers, a lot of other things. And please, when you take a tour of the garden, there's a guest book. We'd like everyone to sign their name and any wishes that you would like to send along to our garden. And there's also a portfolio of what the garden looked like before and the progress. We've gone very, very far. And there is also a flag, a bright orange flag in the garden between the the tomato rows. It's flagged because that's the biggest tomato we've found so far, but if you find others, please let us know. But I wanted to just thank everyone for all their help. I started in March and it did not look like this. We've logged approximately about 600 volunteer hours with Wade's project as well, so that's a lot of work, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Rosie. In your programs and on the sign on the shed in the back, which is wonderful to have that here to store valuable equipment and items we need to take care of the garden, you'll find a listing of our major donors and partners to date. So please feel free to take a look at those in your program and on the shed.
Some of our very special contributors and partners will be here today and serving as ribbon cutters, and starting with Terry, property donor, and also the painter of the watercolors that you see on the programs. So she's a talented artist as well. We're going to invite her two brothers up to that she mentioned gave her this property. I'll cut the ribbon. And is George Becker here? George Becker, if you can come up. Lindsay. Hey George, nice to meet you. George has been a very important volunteer building most of the shed and the gates, and representing all of our volunteers that have given time. Kathy Coder is going to help us with the ribbon cutting. Where is she? Here she comes. She is the president of Bellevue Borough Council. She's also a board member with us, and we're very thankful for all the borough's support, and including donating water when it's a little dry. We have no, at the moment, we have no direct water source to the property. We're working on that. But we thank the borough, because you can't grow without water. Alicia Monahan, can she come forward too? Alicia's going to represent our youth leaders who serve here in the garden. It's their job to motivate additional youth to help, and we have been able to have a lot of different youth volunteers. Sirianni. Oh.